friends, this is the Mrs. Wolfie from Our Half Acre Homestead. Today I'm canning chicken, but I'm not going to take you through that video because all you have to do is watch my canning turkey video. What I am going to do though is once my canning is finished, I have this huge pot of broth because I pressure cooked a lot of my chickens. And so what I did was I strained the broth from the meat, and I didn't show you this, but this had a big yellow plate of fat on top, and what I've done is I've allowed it to cool and I took the fat off the top. That way when I'm finished canning my chicken, whatever broth is left over I can dehydrate, and it will dehydrate really well because there's no fat. When I get done canning my chicken, I'll come back and show you how much broth we have left and how we're going to cook it down and make some bouillon powder. And this is how much broth I have left. It's about up to here. And I'm going to cook this right down to about that much, and then we're going to dehydrate. Yesterday, I canned 12 pints of chicken in broth. And then I took that 3/4 of a pot of broth and I cooked it down to this. Now look at this. This is jelly, and it's hard jelly. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just taking this knife and I'm going to cut this into slices as thin as possible. Someone asked me, well, why don't you cook it down to gel and then put it on the tray in gel? Well, what happens in the dehydrator is it gets hot and this will liquefy again down to like a gravy. So yes, we're going to put it on the trays, but we want to make sure we don't put too much on the tray so that when it liquefies that it overflows. There we go. And we're just going to take a dehydrator tray and I'm going to try, there we go, look at that folks, it's like a jello jiggler. And we're just going to, this one is a little thick, so I'm going to cube it up. And I'll show you once this gets in the dehydrator how liquidy this actually goes. Look at that, isn't that beautiful? The other thing about letting it gel, it comes out of the bowl really clean. That's why we don't put too much on the trays, because once it starts to heat, it will liquefy. Alrighty. Okay, it's been a couple of hours. Let's have a look. Oh, it's all melted nice. Oh look, it's already getting hard. So, a few more hours and I should be able to grind that up. Now, our chicken broth is this lovely dark rich color. And what I'm doing now is I'm peeling it away. It still has some flexibility because it's hot, but I'm peeling it away from the fruit roll-up tray so that if there's any moisture on the underside, it will be able to dry. You know what, folks? I just realized that these don't even need to be any longer. They don't need to be on the fruit roll-up tray unless you have little bits that are already dry. So when I flip them over, because I can pretty much take them off in one piece, I'm just going to put them right on the drying tray so that they will dry and cool down a whole lot quicker. After flipping this over on the trays, I dry them for about another hour, and then I shut it off because these will remain almost flexible as long as they're hot. So now they're quite brittle and they may seem sticky at spots, and if they still are, once they're powder, I will grind them again and dehydrate them a little bit longer. But let's have a trial run, shall we? Oh yeah, that's lovely. Look at that. Lovely powder. Just lovely, and it doesn't stick. So that means it's dry enough. Alright, some of this feels a little bendy without really being brittle. So that tells me there's still a wee tiny bit of moisture left in here. So what I'm probably going to do is once I have this down to, all of it down to powder, see how there's kind of clumps in there. Once I have this all down to powder, just like my dehydrated eggs, I'm going to pour the powder onto a fruit roll-up tray and dehydrate it just a little bit more. Now we're not quite done yet, and I'm going to have to do some more dehydrating of this. But Wolfie's home, and he's got a really stubborn cold, by the way, but he's volunteered to test drive this for flavor. I'm just taking just a level, teaspoon, a coffee spoon. It's not even a full teaspoon. And I'm going to put it in this cup of hot water from the kettle. This actually might need a little bit more. I don't know. But it's not got a lot of sodium in it either, like store-bought broth. Does it need more? Does it need more though?
Yeah, if you were going to drink it like that. Yeah.
Okay, so say a full teaspoon
Maybe
to.
a little salt in it too.
Okay, well let's try a little bit more. Another half a teaspoon. This isn't really a teaspoon either, folks. It's just a coffee spoon. So a full teaspoon, full level teaspoon would be about what I just put in that cup now. Now try it.
Lots of flavor.
Lots of flavor?
Yep.
Okay, thanks, honey. Alrighty. Now, this is what my 3/4 of a stock pot give us in powder. Now, it still has a tendency to be a little bit clumpy. So I've got it spread out on 2 trays here, and I'm just going to dehydrate it a little bit more for a couple more hours. Only because once it's broken up, then you have air getting at every little particle of your broth. Hence, that with the lack of fat, no clumping. Alrighty, folks, we're back. And this spent an additional couple of hours in the dehydrator. And this has just turned out amazingly wonderful. If I can get this tray out. It's really quite heavy. And I have my piece of parchment down because of this hole in the tray here. We're just going to see if we can slide some of this into our grinder because we're going to break it up one more time. It's not going to need much. Now it is a wonderful powder consistency that does not stick together. See, look, you just have to touch that almost and it breaks into powder. Wonderful. Well, there it is, folks. 3 days in the making. Finely powdered, and I mean lovely finely powdered, chicken broth bouillon powder. Now, it looks like a lot of work for only, say, 2.5 cups of powder, but remember, 1 teaspoon of that makes 1 cup of broth, and it's so much easier to store, and this is going to go into a pint bottle, but it's so much easier to store in powder form than it is to store liquid in jars. Much more transportable too. And remember, this is brown. It almost looks like beef broth powder, but it's brown because there's no added chemicals, no added colors. The only thing added to this was the seasonings when I was boiling down the chickens. Whole peppercorns, bay leaves, onions, garlic, and salt. And that was, the bulk of that was, the larger pieces were strained out. And all we had left was this wonderful broth that we dehydrated. Isn't that wonderful? This is the Mrs. Wolfie from Our Half Acre Homestead saying, broth powder, broth bouillon, you can make it MSG free.